Alrighty guys, so welcome back to another round of AFL Best Bets. So this is round 17. We're coming back with you with another 4 AFL player props. Our 4 favourite for today and the weekend. And just getting straight into it. So I do apologise for the video quality for today. Had a bit of a mishap with the software, but hopefully we can get it back on track for next week. So straight into the recap for last week, round 16. We did have a great round. We went 7-3 and most of our losses, we had every chance of getting there. Just was a bit unlucky in the end. So, firstly, the YouTube best bets, we went 3-1, hit all of our main plays. Just with the lean, Bolton 20 disposals. So he did finish with 17. He had 14 at 3/4 time. Just had a very quiet last quarter. So we couldn't hit our 305 lean there, which would have been nice. Dawson head-to-head versus Crouch. So Crouch had one more in the end. So we were in that one as well. And just with Hall and Simpkin, this one really hurt. So Simpkin had 27 touches in the end. Aaron Hall looked like he was going to have a great game. Unfortunately, a few minutes into the game, he hurt himself. So he got subbed out right away. And we never had a chance to begin with that one. So... that sucks, but it's a new week, so hopefully we can make up for it this week. And let's get straight into our graph here. So you can see everything's still going good. So we're making a bit of progress back towards our trend line for the season. So hoping for a big round for round 17. So let's get things kicked off for tonight's game. So Friday night game. We're going to Sydney versus the Bulldogs, and the first pick I'm going with is Jake Lloyd over 23.5 disposals. Now you can pick this up at 183 on PointsBet, and let's bring up his graph. So looking at his season so far, it has been a bit underwhelming. So as you can see, he's missed this in 3 of his past 4. 4 of his past 6, but I do like this one against the Dogs tonight at the SCG. So he has a great record at the SCG. So if you look at the 2 graphs side by side, there's really no comparison. So he's hit this 10 out of 10 of his most recent games at the SCG, and he's covered this, in fact, in 20 consecutive games at the SCG. So in that time, the lowest count that he's had is 24 disposals in a game. And we only need 24. So even if he does have his worst game, or one of his more worst games, then we should still get there. So he's got a great record against the Dogs as well. So he's covered this in 6 of the past 7. So I know it says he's missed this in 2 of the past 5 there, but the 22 disposal game was actually in 2020 with the shorter quarters. So he would have gotten 27.5 had he played the full game or the full length quarters there. I also like this because he is leading the Swans for the kick-ins this season. So it's Jake Lloyd followed by Nick Blakey. So those 2 are very clear 1 and 2, and then it's daylight before the next person. So Lloyd's taken 69, Blakey 61, and then it goes to Campbell, who's had 9 for the season. So I don't think there's much competition other than Blakey for that one. And the Dogs do kick a lot of behinds in their game, so they're 3rd most in behinds for the AFL this year, only behind the Cats and the D's who played last night. So I think he will have his opportunities even to get a lot of freebies, even if he doesn't have a big game around the ground. So I do like that one for our first play of the day, and I would pop 1.5 units on that. Now I know that PointsBet aren't the best for keeping their lines and prices, so if that one does get taken up, I also don't mind the 25 disposals at 225 at tab. So it's only 1 disposal more, but we're getting, 42 cents extra. So I think that's a lot of value there. Obviously, I'm going for the safer play because he has missed this if you take the 25, he has missed this 3 games out of the past 20 at the SCG. So if you want to play safer, take the 23.5. But obviously, if you're a bit more of a risk taker, I can respect that too. Go for the 225 at tab. But official play over 23.5. Disposals 183 points bet, 1.5 units. Okay, so just quick weather check with that one. So straight into the next play. We're actually going to second pick. We're going to Collingwood versus North Melbourne. This is Saturday Arvo game. I'm going with Scott Pendlebury. 20 disposals and the out total under 190.5 at 179 at Ladbrokes with the boost there. So Pendles, he hasn't had the best of times this year. He's only, and I say only, so he's only covered this in 10 of 14 games, as you can see, and he's had a pretty tough month and a half. But why do I like this? So he does have a great record against North Melbourne. So he's covered this in every game against them, pretty much since his debut against them all the way back in 2007. Now that was his very first match that he went under, and he's covered that in 16 straight matches since that time. So it's been 15 years or so since he's gone sub 20 versus North Melbourne. Now you look at his graph, so he has gone under there 16 and 18 against Freo, Carlton, 19-17 versus GWS and Gold Coast. But the good thing about Pendles is he's been pretty consistent throughout the years, so he hasn't failed to go sub 20. He hasn't failed to go 20 plus for 3 games in a row ever since 2008. And that was between the prelim loss versus Geelong to the round 2 match against Brisbane the very next season. But he hasn't done that in a single season, not since his debut season. So we don't expect him to go 3 straight games under sub 20 here, which is why I like it. And he hasn't actually been kept out of the middle recently as well. So he has been getting his time in the middle. So as you can see, he's had 60% plus CBAs for 6 games straight, which is actually more than his season average for last year, as well as his overall average for this year. So he's getting his opportunities in the middle here, and I do like it for that reason. So as long as he's getting his chances in the middle, I'd expect him to cover this against a soft team like North Melbourne. And I do like the out total under 190.5 as well. Obviously Saturday, quick weather check, there is half a chance of a bit of rainfall. Obviously not much, but any chance helps us. And I think that with a team like North Melbourne, obviously they're not going to score a lot. They're really struggling this season, and to get close to 200 points between these two teams, I just don't see it happening unless the Pies pull a lot of that load there. So we're going with out total under 190.5. You can get that 179 Ladbrokes, and I'll take that for 1.5 units. Okay, so into our third pick now, and this one is also on Saturday. We're going to Gold Coast versus Richmond, and I like Noah Anderson, 25 disposals, Tom Lynch for 1 goal, so just a bit of a mini parlay there, and this you can get at 183 for points bet, and I will take this for 1 unit. So have a look at Noah Anderson. He's in a similar boat to Pendles actually. He's in a similar boat to Jake Lloyd actually. So overall, you look at his graph and it's not very it's a bit underwhelming. So he's missed this in 4 of his past 6 games. But if you bring up his totals at Metricon Stadium, then it looks a lot better. So he has covered this in 6 straight games there. So overall, he's covered in 8 of 14, but 8 of his 10, and actually, it's 10 of his past 12 at Metricon Stadium. So at that venue, he does see a plus 4.6 disposal per game boost. So in his last 10 games at Metricon, he's averaging 27.9 versus the 23.3 that he averages everywhere else. So he does get a very nice boost there. And just against a Richmond team that do have a few injuries and have been pretty soft overall for disposals this year. So they're ranked 5th most disposals conceded in the AFL. I just think that there's a very good chance he'll have a field day against them. I mean, he's only played them once and he scored 26 disposals. That was in 2020, but again, given the shorter quarters, that would have been 32.5 in normal length quarters. So he did destroy them last time. And the other one I'm parlaying it with is Tom Lynch, just for anytime goal scorer. So he averages 3.33 goals per game against the Gold Coast Suns since joining the Tigers. The last time out, he had 5 goals against them, and then 2 and 3 in the 3 games against them. And he does play this ground well. So obviously, we forget he used to be a Suns player, so he would know every part of this ground very well, and he obviously performs well here over a long period of time. So I can see him getting a goal there. Should be no problems, especially we're expecting pretty dry conditions there as well on Saturday. So that's our pick 3 at PointsBet, and I'll take that only for 1 unit for this one. So let's go into our final pick of the weekend. So pick 4, we're going to Sunday and we're taking the Hawks versus Adelaide game. Matt Crouch, 25 disposals with our total of over 142.5. Once again, you can get that at Ladbrokes, 177 on the boost. And just bringing up Matt Crouch, so he had been dropped recently from the side despite getting quite a few disposals throughout the year, as always. So he's covered this in 9 of 10 games this season, and he's just coming back from that omission. So you'd think he'd have a bit of a warning from that one, and he'd have a big game here. So he's had 25 plus in 24 of his past 25 games. So even you can see the one game that he's missed was against GWS in round 7, and aside from that Hook lost, he has covered in every single other game in that time period. So he's been ultra consistent with that one. Hopefully he does play well here. I'm a bit concerned with him at Marvel, but he does average 30.3 in the past 5 years. So he's only played here 3 times in that time. So that's the only concern with him with this venue. But I do expect him to go over still against a Hawks team that do concede 380.1 disposals per game, which is the number 1 most in the AFL. So they're a very soft team, and you'd expect the guys like Lloyd, Ben Keys and Crouch to get a hold of them in this one. So the other part of that multi is the over 142.5, which I do like because both sides, they play pretty attacking football and they have conceded very heavy scores at Marvel. So of course Marvel's played under the roof, so we don't need to worry about the conditions with that one. So just looking at the 2 games that the Crows have played this year at Marvel, so they had 184 versus the Blues, 202 versus the Bombers, so roughly 190 point average in their 2 games here. Meanwhile, the Hawks, they had 208 points scored in that game versus the Bulldogs, and then in the other game versus the Bombers, they had 189 points scored. So again, 190 to 200 points there in their games at Marvel this year. So I do expect this line to be covered pretty easily. Obviously, we don't know for sure, so touch wood with that one, but I do like the over in this game. Okay, so just a quick recap of our 4 best bets for today. So we're taking Jake Lloyd over 23.5 disposals for 1.5 units. Again, for 1.5 units, Scott Pendlebury, 20 disposals under 190.5 for the game total on the Saturday Arvo versus North. And then just a couple of 1 unit plays. Noah Anderson, 25 disposals, and Tom Lynch to kick 1 goal. So we're throwing 1 unit on that. And finally on Sunday, we're going for Matt Crouch, 25 disposals, and over 142.5 for the game total with that one.